Hello YouTube, it's Hometown here, and I'm about to take you on the most nostalgic journey ever by diving into the past in order to revisit my favorite horror cartoon, Mighty Max. As a child of the 90s, Saturday and Sunday mornings were sacred, since it was the time when my television would be flooded with a variety of different cartoons, many of which were way ahead of their time. Over the past 3 years, I've been doing mental travels back to my childhood in order to reminisce about my more carefree days, and I have started revisiting many things from 90s popular culture that I loved as a child in order to see if they still hold up today, and I thought, hey, it would be an interesting idea to make a video series about this. Now, as I mentioned in another video I made on this channel, I consider Mighty Max to be my favorite children's horror cartoon of all time, so it only made sense that I would start my retrospective journey with that particular work of fiction. For those unfamiliar, Mighty Max tells the story of the titular Max, a teenager who comes in possession of a magic cap that allows him to travel across the world via magic portals, which also makes him a target for the Skullmaster, an evil sorcerer hell-bent on destroying the world. Each episode features Max going up against some horrific monster in the company of his two comrades, Norman the Hardened Warrior and Virgil the Wise Fowl, with all three of them being the only line of defense between Earth and Skullmaster's machinations and minions. Before we start, I do wish to explain the rules of how I'll be doing this in order for everyone to have a complete understanding of the method behind the madness. For starters, each one of these videos will be examining a single episode of Mighty Max, and I do intend to do the whole series if I see that you're enjoying this, so 40 episodes in total. Man, I did not think this through. When it comes to the coverage of each episode, I will be going over the whole thing, during which time I will be explaining the story and will also be giving my personal opinion on certain parts of it that stood out to me and I wish to talk about in more depth. At the end of each video, I will also be giving a grade to the episode I covered, which will be the result of 4 different elements I will be scoring, those being story quality for how good I thought the narrative was, scariness, which is about how creepy or terrifying I found the episode to be, humor, since Max tends to crack a lot of jokes, as well as monster fear factor, where I will be grading how threatening and creepy the big bad of the episode was. The scoring system for each segment will range from 0 to 5, and the final grade will be the result of the sum of those 4 segments divided by 4. Smart. Now that that's out of the way, there is one final thing I need to mention here, and then we'll jump straight into the first episode. The Mighty Max series is infamously difficult to find anywhere, especially in good quality, but I'll be doing my best to make sure the footage I use is as good as possible in terms of visual fidelity, though I'm not sure it's always going to be possible. On that note, I do wish to give a special shout out to a YouTuber called Mighty Max Restoration Project, who has been uploading remastered versions of the show's episodes on his channel. I cannot overstate the excellence of his work, and even though he doesn't have all of the episodes uploaded, the ones that are there are of the highest quality you can find anywhere, so the link to his channel is in the description. Please go show him some love. And having said that, it's time. Without further ado, let's begin our journey into the creepy world of Mighty Max. The first episode, just like every other episode, starts with an awesome opening that features one of the most badass soundtracks ever, and teases several of the dreadful adventures Max will be undertaking, with the exciting montage culminating in a title card with the episode's name, in this case called The Bellwether in One's Cap. The story begins with an ominous view of some ungodly spider-like metallic machines digging across the bowels of the earth, and we're immediately introduced to Skullmaster, our overall main antagonist, voiced by the phenomenal Tim Curry, who goes on a brief yet effectively chilling monologue about his plan to escape the underground caverns in which he is stuck in order to attack the surface world. His angry soliloquy gives way to the shot of an awesome house, which turns out to be the home of Max, our protagonist. Max enters his house and is quickly informed that he is home alone via a voicemail left by his mother, whom we will meet in future episodes. Max goes upstairs to his room to relax, and I have to say this is the most weirdly awesome 90s room for a teenager I have ever seen. I mean, there's a bunch of monitors in a corner, a neon sign above Max's bed, a bust of Greek philosopher Socrates for some reason, a lizard named Thor, as well as an alarm for when someone knocks on the house entrance, paired with a pipe he uses to speak with visitors. Turns out Max has got mail from a mysterious sender. He promptly opens opens the package and discovers a small statue with Egyptian hieroglyphics on it, which make no sense to him. Thankfully, he has just what he needs in his mom's library in the form of a book called Egyptian Hieroglyphics Made Easy, and with its help he translates the symbols which state that he has been chosen to be the cap-bearer and that he should go to his town's mini-mart and wait for a sign, with the text referring to him as Mighty Max. Apparently, the term Mighty Max is too much for our hero to wrap his head around, who drops the statue in surprise only for it to shatter and reveal a red cap with a large yellow M embroidered on it. Max proceeds to wear it, an action which apparently activates its power, revealing itself to be the cap referenced in the ancient text. Unfortunately for him, the cap's activation is noticed by the Skullmaster, who claims that this power surge is proof the Chosen One is coming to destroy him, as dictated by some old prophecy. Skullmaster quickly dispatches a lava monster to find Max and orders it to rip out his beating heart and bring it to him so that he can eat it raw, immediately establishing himself as a horrifically brutal villain. In the meantime, Max removes the cap and delivers the first of what will become his regular one-liner wisecracks.
Man, I don't think they made this one in Taiwan.
Before deciding to go to the mini-mart to seek answers. As luck would have it, the lava monster has beat him to the punch, and Max enters the store only to find the owner fending off against the fiery abomination. The man yells at Max to run away, and the boy immediately leaves the store, jumps on his bike, and goes on the craziest ride of his life with the creature on his trail. At this point, I do have to ask myself, did the store owner die? I mean, damn dude, the last shot of him was with that scalding beast right behind him, so I have to assume he was burned alive, right? Are we just going to ignore that? I mean, I don't remember if the guy shows up in future episodes, but for now, rest in peace, brave soul. Your sacrifice to save the Chosen One will not be forgotten. Anyway, back to the chase. Max is pedaling for dear life as the creature quickly gains on him, and after a badass ramp jump followed by riding across a fence in perfect balance, all seems lost for our hero as it looks like he's reaching the end of his life in the form of a house wall. But just in the nick of time, the cap activates once more and this time generates a portal which swallows up Max right before the magma golem crashes onto the wall, failing to catch its prey. Following a trippy ride through a colorful wormhole, the portal spits Max out in the middle of a desert, where he is met by a scholarly chicken.
My name is Virgil, and I'm a fowl, not a chicken.
Oh, sorry about that, man. So he's met by Virgil, a scholarly fowl, not a chicken, as well as Norman, a powerful warrior whom Virgil introduces as Max's protector. Max is terrified at first and tries to establish himself as a force to be reckoned with.
I know the ancient deadly art of, voodoo! Yeah, and I can rip your eyes out and show them to you before you die!
But that quickly fails and he just does his best to gather the pieces of his dignity once he realizes Virgil and Norman mean him no harm.
Glad that's settled. I'd hate to hurt either of you two guys.
Max asks about their location and Norman tells him they're currently in Mongolia, which baffles our teenage hero since he was in America just a moment ago. He asks Virgil to explain what's happening and the wise fowl tells the boy that he's Mighty Max, the Chosen One, and that all will be explained soon, though for now they must hurry. A new portal opens up on a rock and the unlikely trio jump through it only to find themselves in Egypt, at which point Max demands an explanation or he's out. Seeing no other choice but to elucidate him, Virgil explains that every person in this world has a gift within which lies their destiny, and that Max is a hero who was chosen by fate to wear the last cosmic cap, an artifact that holds the divine power of worldwide transport via portals that can take you literally everywhere, as long as you find their position in each country, since they have specific places where they are located and cannot just instantly open up at any given location. Kinda makes you think just how lucky Max was to find a portal at the end of that fence, huh? Anyway, they activate another portal and are transported outside of the Taj Mahal, where he further explains that Max is the focus of the powers of good and that himself and Norman are there to help and serve him. They open a third portal just in time to escape some very angry security guards and this time travel in the middle of Paris. As they go on a search for the next portal, Virgil says that he intends to use his wisdom to help Max reach his full heroic potential, while Norman, being the ultimate fighter, is meant to keep him safe from the various dangers that will be coming his way. They eventually locate the elusive portal, which finally leads them back to Max's neighborhood. As Max is slowly coming to terms with these revelations, he asks Virgil if he knows anything about the lava monster that was after him, which prompts Virgil to speculate that if such a creature was sent after Max, then the Skullmaster must not only be aware of Mighty Max's existence, but he must be close to freeing himself as well. And as they enter the house, we get an ominous view of the beast's leg as it stalks them. Inside the house, the group goes in search of a basement, though Max states that his home has no basement as far as he's aware. Virgil rebuts rebuffs him by claiming that there's definitely a basement in there somewhere as written in his ancient scroll, and soon after Norman discovers a hollow part of the wall and discreetly tears it out to reveal a wooden door behind it. A dumbfounded Max opens the door and reveals a stairwell leading down to an ancient Egyptian pathway with what looks like a huge sealed stone door at its end. A new portal activates as they approach it, and Virgil pulls Max back just as he is about to go through it, telling him that this one leads to Skull Mountain, Skullmaster's lair, which prompts Max to lament the fact that the gate to the Sorcerer's realm is down in his basement. Here I do wish to point out what I consider to be a minor inconsistency in the story. When Virgil mentions Skull Mountain in this scene, Max replies as if he already knows who Skullmaster is, though by this point they haven't actually discussed about him as far as we've seen. My only theory is that they talked about him while inside the house after Virgil first mentioned his name when Max asked about the nature of the lava monster, and we just didn't see that discussion, so I'll go with that explanation as canon in order for Max's knowledge of our big bad to make sense. So back to the basement, the trio is ambushed by the foul scalding abomination, and just as the monster is about to kill Max, Virgil sacrifices himself by pushing the mighty one out of the way and falling back into the reopened portal along with the creature. Max's shock at Virgil's heroism quickly turns to conviction as he decides to go through the portal and rescue the scholarly fowl with a pissed off Norman by his side, proving that the Cosmic Cap chose its champion wisely. Without a second to waste, our two companions jump straight through the portal, which drops them right into the volcanic caverns of Skullmaster's lair. The evil sorcerer's realm immediately proves its treacherous nature as our heroic duo is attacked by 3 rock golems, which manage to separate Norman from Max after he loses hold of his sword, leaving the boy all alone, though not as alone as he'd wish, since Skullmaster reveals himself through the shadows, finally coming face to face with his teenage nemesis. Skullmaster immediately belittles Max, amused that the prophesied hero turned out to be an unintimidating young boy which he considers a weakling, and angered that he has spent 5,000 years dreading his clash with the Chosen One only to be met by this underwhelming child. Max tries to sound tough and threatens him, but the sorcerer finds him as threatening as you would expect.
Not.
Just as Skullmaster is about to tear Max to pieces, the boy stumbles on a scepter with a crystal on top, whose safety seems to worry the sorcerer. Max immediately notices the villain's reaction and threatens to destroy the crystal if he comes any closer. Taking advantage of Skullmaster's fear, Max pushes the scepter down to distract him and runs away, though the sorcerer manages to grab it before it touches the ground. Lost and afraid, Max notices Virgil dangling from a chain over a river of lava in the distance and immediately rushes to his aid. After going up a dark staircase and through an old door, the mighty one reaches his friend and pulls him up the ledge of the cliff, only to now be faced with a pack of lava monsters led by an armored lava beast that can speak. The leader orders its soldiers to kill Virgil and Max, but the boy demonstrates his ingenuity by using Virgil's chain to swing from one precipice to another, where, as luck would have it, he finds a chained Norman being attacked by the previously seen rock golems. Max takes the opportunity to throw Norman's sword back at him, at which point the warrior frees himself and then proceeds to politely teach the stone creatures what happens when you mess with him and his comrades. With the objective to find and rescue Virgil now completed and their group whole once again, they decide to locate the portal that will take them out of there, but no sooner has the thought crossed their mind when the ground shatters beneath their feet and they go on the wildest slide ride of their life, which throws them deeper into the caverns. They pass by a huge metallic vehicle as they keep searching for the portal, which Virgil finally pinpoints as being located over a lava waterfall. A lava fall? Which is impossible to get to by foot since they have reached the edge of another cliff and the rest of the way is pure lava. To make matters worse, Skullmaster has caught up to them, huge blade in hand. Virgil encourages Max by telling him he's destined to win against Skullmaster, and Max briefly tries to stand toe-to-toe with him, but he's no match for the sorcerer's wrath, who immediately attacks. Norman barely manages to grab Max and Virgil and jump away just as Skullmaster's sword cuts through the wall, causing a minor rockfall. The trio lands on the previously seen vehicle, which turns out to be one of those spider-like tanks we saw digging through the ground at the start of the episode, but the sorcerer is on their trail. Skullmaster once more reminds us of his brutality with this monologue.
I'll rip your limbs from your body and slowly suck the marrow from your bones.
which terrifies Max, who immediately goes to activate the vehicle in order to move away from his enemy. Here I have to say that I love how he just randomly presses buttons and they somehow end up being the correct ones to activate this thing. I mean, this is always extremely hilarious to me when it happens in fiction, but I'll be lenient here since this is a children's show, I guess. With the infernal contraption active, Max has now leveled the playing field with Skullmaster and decides to prove that to him by attempting to crush the brute under its weight, seemingly succeeding. Max then decides to use the vehicle to reach the portal by driving it through the lava river and straight to the edge of the cliffside. Just as the tank is about to reach the precipice of the lava fall, Skullmaster emerges from beneath it, having survived by following the ingenious plan of not moving at all when Max came at him and simply standing in between the rollers of the tank where there's a gap. With their adventure having reached a crescendo, Max, Norman and Virgil take a leap of faith before the sorcerer can reach them and manage to go through their most dangerous portal yet, leaving an angry Skullmaster to an unknown but apparently deadly fate. The group ends up popping somewhere in Australia, away from the dangers of Skull Mountain. Following a brief celebration of their survival, Max, Norman and Virgil begin a long walk to the next portal, located about 50 miles away from them.
50 miles? No way, Jose! Hey, I'm the mighty one, you remember? I just saved the world from certain destruction. I ain't moving. Find a closer portal.
Come on, man, you're definitely going to follow them. You know it, I know it, just get up and start walking.
Virgil? Norman? Hey, you guys, I was just kidding around. Can't you take a joke?
The episode ends with a brief educational segment, as with every Mighty Max episode. In this one, Max informs us about the Taj Mahal's history, saying that it started construction in the early 1630s by Emperor Shah Jahan as a shrine to his deceased wife, and took 20,000 men and 22 years to complete. And with that, the Mighty One renews our meeting for next week. So, watching this episode for the retrospective was an incredibly interesting experience for me for the following reason. As I was going through it in order to write the script, I started picking up on things I hadn't noticed before when I was watching it just for fun. For example, I never noticed this plot hole I mentioned where Max is never informed on screen about Skullmaster, yet he somehow knows who he is, or how he just randomly activates the tank by mashing buttons. I didn't even give a second thought to the fact that the owner of the minimart probably died a fiery death. I think this aspect of the retrospective is what excites me the most. The fact that I perceive things I would have never perceived before when it comes to the episodes, simply because I'm watching them much more closely now, I guess, which makes this revisiting of the series even more engaging for me. And now to the grading. When it comes to story quality, I think this was a very solid first episode for a series. First, it does an incredible job of establishing the narrative stakes, which are essentially the end of the world if Skullmaster succeeds. Second, it's stellar when it comes to introducing the characters, namely Max, Virgil, Norman, and Skullmaster, not only in terms of their personalities, but also their roles in the series. We know Max is the wisecracking hero who must save the world, Virgil is the wise guide who offers advice, Norman is the solemn warrior who's there to protect Max, and Skullmaster is this ruthless villain who has no qualms with doing horrible things to Max. And we haven't been told these things in some boring exposition dump, we've seen them through actions and natural dialogue, which are the signs of a good story. Third, the actual story of the episode is quite engaging, especially during its final third, where we get a hellish tour through Skull Mountain as Max is doing his best to save both Virgil as well as Norman. I mean, you have some great chases in there, you have the awesome first meeting between Max and Skullmaster, there is this haunting fight scene between Norman and the rock golems which you see through their shadows, then the group's engagement with Skullmaster at the edge of the crag, add to that the initial chase between Max and the lava beast, and there's truly a lot of excitement going around. It's not the best episode in the series, trust me, there's some haunting stuff later on, but it does an admirable job of establishing Mighty Max as a cartoon to keep an eye out on. My grade for the story is 3.5 out of 5. Moving on to scariness, while the episode was definitely creepy in its third part, overall I wouldn't really classify it as being representative of the horror aspect Mighty Max is capable of, especially knowing how terrifying some of the future episodes are. The overall vibe of this particular episode felt more adventurous than it did horrifying, though you definitely get a taste of what the series will be going for next in terms of horror, especially during the third act in Skull Mountain and all the monsters and vibe of the place. My grade for scariness is 2.5 out of 5. In terms of humor, this episode does a decent job of introducing the concept of Max cracking jokes, as well as the general sense of comedy the series has. You have a few scenes with Max's one-liners like this one when he first experiences the power of the cap,
Man, I don't think they made this one in Taiwan.
or this one when he first gets to Skull Mountain.
No chance we have the wrong address, huh?
You also have some comedic scenes like the one when Max first meets Virgil and Norman,
Yeah! Don't mess with me, buddy. I know the ancient deadly art of, voodoo!
as well as this admittedly funny situation where Max nearly drops into lava and Norman just casually grabs and places him safely on the ground as if he weighs nothing. My favorite comedic bit of this episode, though, belongs to Virgil when he contemplates Max's attack by the lava beast.
A lava beast, and at the ordained minimart.
I don't know why, but this reference to the ordained minimart gave me a chuckle. This episode's humor is not the best the series has to offer, but it did give me a laugh or two, and I did find myself smiling several times throughout my viewing. My grade for humor is 3 out of 5. Finally, we have Monster Fear Factor, and this was definitely the episode's strongest suit. While the lava monster itself never really scared me even as a child, the same cannot be said for Skullmaster, who is definitely the central threat here. From his creepy design as a massive, pale, muscular brute to him frequently being cast in shadows, all the way to his horrifying speeches about tearing Max apart in different ways, Skullmaster quickly establishes himself as a brutal and ruthless villain who will stop at nothing to free himself and unleash terror on Earth. It goes without saying that Tim Curry does a phenomenal job of breathing unholy life to the character, with his low and slightly raspy voice being the stuff of nightmares when combined with Skullmaster's design and visual direction. Skullmaster is among the most disturbing enemies Max will go up against in this series, and rightfully deserves a Fear Factor grade of 5 out of 5. And with that, the final grade of the pilot episode of Mighty Max is an admirable 3.5 out of 5. So this was my in-depth review of the first episode of Mighty Max, ghouls and gals. I really hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it, and please let me know if you would like to see retrospectives for the rest of the episodes as well. Revisiting cartoons from my childhood has been a truly heartwarming process for me, and I would love to review the complete series if it's something you're also interested in. For now, see you next time, and remember to stay spooky!